like the content we bring you about the heavy metal world, please like, subscribe, and comment to help us grow the channel. So, hi Florian, Bryce here with Metal Express Radio. And for folks who haven't heard of the Progressive Souls Collective, can you talk a little bit about the project?
Hi, Bryce. Yeah, well, first of all, thanks so much for having me on your show. The Progressive Souls Collective, as the name hopefully indicates, is a project or a collective of musicians, trying to make progressive music, preferably in the rock and metal genre. And now we're approaching the release of our second album, which is called Sonic Rebirth, which will be out March 15th, so just a few days away. Our first album, Sonic Birth, came out in 2020, and I remember having a very nice and lively conversation with you at that time. And on our first album, we had many really, really cool guests. Famous musicians from the prog genre like Derek Sherinian on keyboards, Kevin Moore, Achilles Priester, Connor Green from Haken, and many others. And on our second album, we come up again with a bunch of really, really great musicians. So this time we have Simon Borvin from Leprous on bass on one song. Again, we have Vladimir Lalic on lead vocals for Organized Chaos, who also did all the lead vocals on the first album.
Yeah, great singer.
Oh, Vladimir is so unique, man. He's just one of a kind, really. Yeah. Then we have Gerald Peter. Some of you might know him from his work with Dream Theater's Jordan Rudess on his Rockestra project. So he's doing some keyboard leads. We have Zolt Kaltenecker and Adam Marco from Special Providence, and also some new young guns who I had the pleasure to perform live with. So we actually, despite the pandemic, or at the end of the pandemic, we were able to play a live show at the Art Rock Festival here in Germany, and
Awesome.
and we had Tim Koricki from Tomorrow's Eve on drums, Jamie Powell on bass, and Gerald Peter on keyboards, and then Vladimir and myself. And we had lots of fun. We actually recorded a live album. And for those of you who would like to see that show, we're actually streaming this show next week, Friday. I believe it's the 8th of March at 8 o'clock p.m. CET. And there's a live chat and Q&A with Jamie and myself, and it'll be hosted by Camelot drummer Alex Landenberg, who's a good friend of mine, and who actually also did some drums for TPC in the past. And interestingly, Alex from Camelot is now really interested into streaming, because he has come up with this very cool idea of this new fair music streaming app called Rock. So ROKK, and Rock is actually presenting this streaming event for which you can get tickets now. And Alex is pretty much into streaming, and we're really honored because we're like the first band or group or project, whatever you want to call it, to be presented by Rock in terms of a streaming event. It's going to be a pre-recorded concert from the Art Rock Festival, but you're really up for something special. We had Ruben Cohen from Lursen Mastering, who also mastered Metallica. He mastered our live album. So this is a really unique event, and to prepare yourself for the new album release.
Sounds really awesome. So the first album was called Sonic Birth, and the follow-up is Sonic Rebirth. Can you talk a little bit about the concept and where it picks up from the first record?
Oh, yeah. So as you mentioned, Sonic Birth, I think the title of the debut album pretty much exemplifies, first and foremost, the birth of the project, the Progressive Souls Collective, or TPSC, as we'd like to sort of abbreviate it. And even our first album, Sonic Birth, was like a concept album with the idea to touch on the topic of human human existence and technology. And we've now sort of expanded that concept onto the second album in terms of like the Sonic Rebirth. Again, some sort of a rebirth of the project with some of the new musicians that we have on board right now. But also conceptually, we're looking at the interplay between human development and technology and vice versa. So we try to sort of piggyback on that a little bit. And musically, you'll also find some motifs, let's say, and melodies or rhythms from the first album as like hidden Easter eggs on the second one.
Great.
Maybe we could
Awesome.
do like some kind of a competition. Maybe how many Easter eggs can be spotted there? There are a few.
Yeah,
Um,
I'll have to listen to them back to back. I just played the new album this morning, and it sounds really great. But I'll have to do
okay.
a A/B test on it. So,
Yeah, there is like a melody which we always in the group we call it like the Sonic Birth theme.
mhm,
And on the first album, that was more like in sort of the atmospheric synth or guitar layering soundscape. And on
mhm.
the second album, it pretty much turned into a very heavy riff, actually. So that should be an easy one.
Cool.
Yeah, and last but not least, it also sort of then continues in terms of conceptually with the artwork. So on our first album, Sonic Birth, we had like a robot embryo um, depicted like a black colored, like a dark black robot embryo on the white background.
Hmm.
And this time we sort of flipped it completely around. So we have a white robot in front of like a black background. Um, Maybe to show that these albums are connected, but they're also different. I'd
Almost
also
like a yin and yang a little bit.
maybe, yeah, I haven't even thought of it that way, but probably could be that kind of approach. It's not like completely different, and maybe you don't need both albums to sort of feel that it's balanced. I would rather say that the second album is probably a bit more organic, simply because this time it's musicians on it that have actually played together live. So we have a chemistry,
Hmm.
although I have to admit we didn't rehearse that much for our first live show because there was just no chance because of the pandemic. But we were very
Yeah.
well prepared, and it's the fun thing is really with the live show we did everything that you're not supposed to do. So walk honest, play with musicians that you've never played with live before, with one rehearsal, one run through, and do a live album with DVD shoot and multi-track at a festival in a pandemic without a sound check. So that's basically what you're just not supposed to do. But for somehow it worked. We just had a great sound, and generously the festival allowed us enough time to just set up all the recording equipment. So we had a blast, and I'm sure that'll spark off when you watch the streaming show next week, Friday.
Yeah. Well, the caliber of musicians that are in the project definitely makes that doable.
Oh yeah, I mean everybody was like super prepared. We had like of course, our kick track and then our in ear. That's what you need to have.
Hmm.
But yeah, it was just like we probably the best preparation. Of course, happened individually. Like everybody like knew their parts, and of course we had like, for example, I had like my guitar patches changed with MIDI automation just because it was so handy. And I'm the type of person who would occasionally step on the wrong pedal. I'm probably
Hmm.
that type of guitar player who would do that. But we really sort of try to make things as easy as possible. And apart from that, the best way to prepare was just talk through the set. And then everybody had like the same level of understanding, and I'm just grateful because all the guys were so committed and talented. And when you listen to the live version of Sonic Birth, the first album, and then sort of put it next to the studio record, it has a different dynamic, really.
Hmm.
And hopefully, this new dynamic with us now knowing each other from a live situation, I think that has sort of sparked up off to the new album, Sonic Rebirth. And so what we really try to do is making the things we liked from the first album maybe a bit more extreme on the second one. So
Mhm.
the stuff that was heavy became heavier. The stuff that was softer became softer or more emotional. I would say maybe the more exotic instrumentation, like flutes, pipes, bagpipes, harps, whatever you want. We sort of changed that even a bit. So now we have like an accordion, for example, on one song, or a slide guitar that I was playing. I'm playing a banjo actually on one of them,
Nice.
and a mandolin, and we have a duduk on two songs actually. So we're not going to world music, but we just felt that here and there these types of instrumentation they really help to sort of spice things up, and as long as they contribute to the song, then it's cool.
Right. Now, you mentioned you use some MIDI automation on stage. Do you use MainStage, or what program do you like to use for that? Just curious for all the
Oh, okay.
guitar nerds
Yeah,
out there.
sure. We were actually using Cubase,
Which one? What's it
because
called?
Cubase,
Oh, okay.
Cubase, like a DAW,
Oh,
it's
Cubase.
actually
Okay.
my
Okay.
it's basically my recording DAW, and the way we did it, you basically create like a MIDI track with all the MIDI notes for all the
Hmm.
different patches, and send MIDI CC signals. So, for example, in my case, it was an Axifx 3, and same did Gerald, our live keyboardist for that show, who had like his patches changed. I'm not sure which software he was using, but basically all the patch changes came out of Cubase, out of a MIDI track, and then we also had our like a video in the back of us projected on the screen that was also synchronized with it. So it was really good that in our case, actually, the DAW replaced several people, like a video technician, a monitor guy, somebody who switches effects, somebody who steps on your pedals. So it's probably half a crew that you can have in one MacBook if you're really nutted out how you prepare yourself from a technical perspective.
That's pretty awesome. So it kind of leads to my next question. Since we're talking about gear, is I really love your guitar sound. Can you talk a little bit about your guitars that you like to play and your guitar rig?
Absolutely. Thanks. Really appreciate that. Well, on the second album, this one, like the upcoming one,
Hmm.
for recording and writing, I probably largely used Music Man Majesty, pretty much as done on the first one, like an Ernie Ball Music Man guitar. In terms of amps, I've used several Mesa Boogie amps, like Mesa Boogie JP2C Plus, John
Hmm.
Petrucci's amp. We used a Mark V as well. I used also a plugin by Mercurial, because one of my favorite amps is actually the Triaxis,
Hmm.
and they have a really good plugin that sounds exactly like the Triaxis. I've used a Dumble plugin for a Dumble sound I think for that was for the slide guitar on part 5, because the album has
Hmm.
like part 1 to 8 basically numbered through consecutively, but also with some extra song titles. And on part 5, there's the pedal steel, or lap steel, I'd have to say, lap steel guitar. So there's a Dumble plugin and a couple Fender plugins as well. So pretty, I'd say pretty layered as well. Microphones. What did we use? We used a very cool Tull microphone by the company Tull. I think they're from South Africa, and to me, their guitar microphone sounds like a hybrid, what you want out of a Shure SM57 and a Royer R121, but basically
Hmm.
in one microphone. To me, this is actually two microphones in one. And the way I record, I record my DI signal into the DAW and then do reamping. So what we mostly do is that we use an ISO box, like an ISO. It's called the box of doom. actually, by the company The Box of Doom, with a what's it called, like a Dynamount system, where you can actually with a ah lost for words. With a computer, you can basically maneuver the microphone's position and save it, so that you don't always have to find the sweet spot again and again and again. So we have like 5, 6 positions
Oh,
stored
that's
in
really
the
cool.
computer, and you just put in the microphone and then dial in the position that you want, and then look, the microphone goes exactly there where you want it, and you have the sweet spot in no time.
Yeah,
So
I kind of.
what?
Oh, go ahead. I was gonna say I kind of do it the old way. I put a 57 on the speaker, put a large diaphragm studio mic a little farther back in the room, and then run a DI off of the amp, and end up
I mean,
going on 3 tracks at once. So.
wow. That's the thing is with the phasing, that you sometimes then get with the when you use multiple microphones.
Yeah.
Then of course you have to adjust for that either with plugins or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I think that the things like the ISO booth concept, like with the Box of Doom or the Dynamount system, I think it really brings back the engineering in terms of guitar sounds, because nowadays, as guitar players, many of us are just like really used to use plugins. Of course, you can maneuver the virtual microphone around, but it's just something different when you're actually in a room with an amp.
Yeah.
And move it around. But I'm not such a good engineer that I could do that in a room. I feel more confident doing that with an ISO box, simply because you just don't have all these reflections there, like that you can get from a room.
Right.
So just keeping the margin for error low, because there's a reason why people study audio engineering and all these other technicalities. They're just like a good help for people like myself who haven't studied this.
Yeah, people do go to school for it. So
Absolutely, I have the biggest admiration for these audio engineers. We had actually, this is a very interesting story. We've actually recorded more than one album, and you're actually the first one to hear this. We had
awesome.
we have some more stuff coming, hopefully this year. We've recorded some very cool cover songs as well. Also, with some of the Sonic Birth themes sort of sneaked in. And for that project, we had the pleasure to work with Elliot Shiner, who's who was Toto's mixing engineer. I think now he's not working with Toto anymore, but I had the chance to meet Elliot, and then sort of he offered to mix some of our cover tunes, which is awesome. And by working with him and actually learning how an Elliot Shiner mix sounds like when it's not mastered, and then when you put on a mastering plugin and see how it just opens up, like it's remarkable. He's at an absolute one of a kind level mixing engineer, and I found that so inspiring and influential. So what I did was actually then on Sonic Rebirth, the upcoming album for now, I mixed that album myself with some help by Alex Krotz. Maybe some of your listeners know him. He has worked with Deep Purple, and I think what's the other? I don't remember the other band that he's known for, but he provides some really good mix feedback, and sort of taking Elliot's sound balance unmastered as a reference, how he layers the sound without making things sound too pointy, because Elliot mixes very it's very crisp and clear, and it's just the art not making the mix sound too pointy, and that's something I always refer back to Elliot's mixes. So, and hopefully later this year these covers will see the light of day. One cover we released actually, when was it? November last year. We did a cover of the Garbage, of the band Garbage, which is called the trick is to keep breathing. And for that one, we actually had Alex Landenberg from Camelot on drums. And that song wasn't mixed by Elliot, but it sort of inspired, of course, also the entire workflow then and mixing process for the new album, Sonic Rebirth.
So you've got the live show coming up on streaming. Is there any music videos coming up for singles from the new album?
Absolutely, yeah. We have two singles out right now. First one was released a couple weeks ago, which is Sonic Rebirth Part 2, which is called I Am Here, which is sort of like the first really like up-tempo track of the new album.
Mm-hmm.
Part 1 is like more like an intro with some more Celtic instruments. And the second single was released almost 2 weeks ago, which is Part 4 of Sonic Rebirth, which is called Destroy Chemistry, which is a very hard, like aggressive metal tune with a lot of down picking. And then the third single will be coming out this Friday. That's March 1st, probably. Yeah, March 1st, which is Part 5, Sonic Rebirth Part 5, which is called Talk to Me. And that's probably the most, I wouldn't say unusual, but probably the song that's the most different when you compare them to the others, simply because of the instrumentation, because that's the one with the mandolin, the banjo,
Mm-hmm.
the accordion, and all these things. These things come to blossom there. And it's probably a bit more, I wouldn't say mellow, but still mellow, emotional. And that's the one where we have Adam Marco from Special Providence as a guest drummer on one of these tunes, and he did a phenomenal job. I mean, he's an open-handed lefty player, a really rare species to find,
Mm-hmm.
and so he just has a setup like nobody else I've ever see play that way.
So is
And
he using a traditional like marching band
it's
grip,
just
like
it's just
this
it's like
one this way and this one down, or is he
well,
doing both?
I'm not sure if I now have to back transfer because I'm not sure if your image is now mirrored or not, like
It's
left to
not
right.
supposed to be.
Yeah, but
Otherwise,
it's
my
basically
background would be backwards.
it's oh yeah, right, yeah. Well, open-handed lefty basically. It's like a open-hand player, but
Like
sort
your
of
palms up.
yeah. I mean, what I can do maybe while we're talking, I think he once sent me a picture of his setup. I could try to find it while we're talking because it's just such a cool way. And it's actually a very tiny kit that he's playing, but very creative. And
Mm-hmm.
I think he did a great job just in terms of orchestration over the entire kit and still leaving enough space for all these other instruments because, like I said, the new single "Talk to Me," which drops Friday, it has like these layers of sounds on the upper end. Then you have like the high mandolin providing like a continuous pulse. Then you have a little bit lower, you have the banjo and the accordion more in the mid range, and then you have Simon from Leprous' bass player, playing a Fender jazz bass on it, and just it provides this beautiful, slightly gnarly characteristic bass sound that I love so much. And you compare it, that's the cool thing when you work with different musicians, because on the other tunes, for example, the seventh part of Sonic Rebirth, that's probably one of the most, I would say probably is one of the most difficult things to play for us, particularly for the drummer, Tim,
Mm-hmm.
and Jamie Powell, because it has like a totally asynchronized or I would say async well, kick drum and bass are like together all the time, but the rhythmic pattern is like not identical from bar to bar. So it has many twists and turns, and playing that, and I think actually the drummer Tim is playing it mostly with one foot, which is
Oh
pretty
wow.
amazing. So
Yeah.
it's a very very complicated rhythmic pattern, probably a 12-minute song or so, also with some orchestral work in the middle. Um, and probably the most dramatic tune as well on the album. So that's probably the one that would be a larger or a bigger challenge to play live, I'd say. But the bass sound was where I was trying to go to, like that Jamie Powell, our bass player, has on that one is just phenomenal. Just so tight and precise. It's really like you can set your watch by the millisecond the way he plays. He's just really excellent bass player.
Yeah, I wanted to say on listening, all the songs really work well together. I didn't notice anything standing out that you would think that these are all different guys playing different instruments or anything. You know, it all
Yeah.
works as a comprehensive um, work of music. And but I wanted to ask, so what formats is the new album coming out, and where's the best place to get them?
So yeah, well, first and foremost, digital as always. Digital platform where you can get your streams and MP3s and all of that. So that's like via the classic digital platforms and formats. But
Right,
then
but those
also
of us that want a trophy, where are we going to get that?
you can get them on our website. That's www.progressivesouls.net, and there's a shop link at the top where you can go, and you can get either as a CD,
Hmm.
limited edition CD, or limited vinyl. This is our first vinyl release.
Awesome.
Vinyl, I just got the notes. It might take a tiny bit longer for the manufacturing process, as it sometimes happens with vinyl, because vinyl is quite hype. But we'll have it ready very soon. In a couple of weeks, it'll be there.
Yeah,
So vinyl.
I was going to say I've talked to bands that they've had a couple records in the can that they can't even get out yet because they were waiting like 8 months for vinyl replication. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Because it's so backlogged. So I understand that completely.
yeah. But it's going to be really, really cool. And again, yeah, the mastering was done once more by Ruben Cohen from Lorson Mastering, and he's just like my maybe my ears are just so used to his setup, because he has his mastering, the Lorson mastering plugin. You can actually import it into your DAW,
Hmm.
and sometimes I had it accidentally switched on while just listening to some stuff, and you just get
Yeah,
so familiarized and adapted to the way his entire mastering chain is working. So it would be probably very hard for me to change the mastering engineer at any point, because I'm just so addicted really to his mastering style. I just like it so much. And yeah, I'm really proud that he did that work for us. And yeah, hopefully our audience will like it too. But
great,
it's
great.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
I'm running a little bit out of time, so I just wanted to say thank you very much for taking the time to talk to me. Progressive Souls Collective, Sonic Rebirth, out March 15th, and on Metalville Records, and great progressive metal album. And the show
Thank you.
is streaming show. Is that what's
Oh,
the
that's
date on that? Is that the 8th?
March 8th at 8 o'clock p.m. CET.
And
But
that's on ROKK Rock.
uh, no, that's on Fear Live. And you
Okay.
can find the link on our social media. Basically, if you just look us up on Facebook and Instagram, we're promoting that very actively right now. The Rock website will also put out some promo very
Oh, okay.
soon about that. And if you don't have time to listen to us and join us on that particular date, also for the live Q&A, the stream will be available for about a week. So if you want to tune in later, that would be great. We have some giveaways of the first album as well, and some merch, like some t-shirts and some CDs. And what we'll also decided to do just today, this is 1 week before the official album release, we will have some more new music that hasn't been released as a single yet from the new album. So you get like another glimpse of the new album 1 week before its official release. So
Excellent. And
hopefully,
are the new videos on YouTube as well?
absolutely, yeah, they're all
Okay.
there. And this Friday, March 1st, will be the next and final single release, Sonic Rebirth Part 5. That'll drop this Friday.
Awesome. Well, thanks again, Florian. It's always a pleasure to talk to you, and
Likewise,
can't wait to
likewise.
check out the live show. And last question: is there any more live performances coming up in the
Yeah,
near
well,
future?
absolutely. So we're scheduled to play this April at Art Rock Festival here in Germany once more, and then of
Great.
course after that we have to see what's going to happen. Of course, the live sector, it is a bit overcrowded at times, but so far the response to the new record has been very promising. So we're hoping for some more live activity to happen very
Yeah,
soon.
maybe Vakken next year.
That would be a dream. That would be an absolute dream. But I'd be a bit scared to ask, actually. I mean, yeah. I mean, I would do that. You could wake me 2 o'clock at night. I'd drive there, no questions asked.
Awesome. Well, thanks again, Florian. Again, can't
Thanks.
wait to check out the show next week. And a great album. Everybody needs to check it out and put it on their list. So
Thanks so much. Thanks so much for having me.
you bet. And have a great evening.
Likewise. You too. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye.
If you like the content we bring you about the heavy metal world, please like, subscribe, and comment to help us grow the channel.